Hello, my soul brothers and soul sisters. I, I am Ron Smith, and this is the Dr. Ron Smith Investigation Show. We're going to read different the facts from fiction and give you the winner's edge, and sometimes return your mind. Ladies and gentlemen, this episode me, and today we're talking about fixing your finance and what works for you. And 24 is called. It's from the book of Habakkuk 2:2. It said, "Write the vision and make they may run there, read it. So write it, read it, and run it." With people who are playing are 90% chance that they are going to complete it than people who just think about it. So we're going to talk about writing your finding, talking about the talk, which means the things the conversation I wish I had. And one of the things that I know for sure is that your wealth determines your quality of life, the education, and where you're going to live. And not only that, it determines your children's quality of life, their education, and where they're going to live, which determines your grandchildren's quality of life, their education, and where they're going to live. That is how important financial literacy is in the world, actually, and especially in this nation, because we are in a market-based economy. Everything that moves because there is a financial criteria that helps it move. One of the things in my church, there are 7%, four figures. Uh, uh, if you're are still spending more money than you are earning, as per people who are making less and trying to do more with it. One of the things that we experienced in this is that the interest rate was up to 70%. And what's going to happen in 2024, it has been projected that the interest rate is going to probably decrease by 6 times. I only bring that up is that if your plan is to get into real estate, then you need to start working on that plan now, which means that within the next 3 to 6 months, it'll be time to go ahead and buy that piece of property that you were looking at. In order to do that, you need to fix your finances and build your budget to be able to do that. Now, if you're single, easier because basically you know what your income and expenses are, and you really don't have to have a discussion with anyone else. But if you're married, you need to have a budget date, which means just like date night, you go to dinner or a movie or go to a concert. You need to schedule a time that you could meet with your spouse and go over what your projected budgets are. And if you got teenager kids in the house, and you're doing allow like a time and place location and have that schedule. And oftentimes that reason we have certain meetings when our budget flares up out of sync. That's not to talk people subject, and that's the reason why most people are uncomfortable with that, because there's emotional. I know when you're married, you bring it two family lifestyles of two positions of knowledge or the lack thereof, and you always have that conflict of how money should be spent. One of the things that I know is that little girls grew up, and this past movie Barbie was the biggest selling movie, uh, one of the blockbuster. Uh, I remember my sister had the Barbie doll house when she was a little girl. So basically, she grew up wanting to have that house. Uh, Even though we know Barbie didn't have a real job, but she had all the toys and all the things to go with it. Where me, I grew up being like more GI Joe, going out there and with makeshift rifles and all that good stuff. I never thought about owning a house, et cetera, et cetera. So when you two people get together and you start trying to do a budget of things that you want, that's and we're coming from two different places that might be all conflict. One of the things that I know is the more you do it, the better you become at it. So uh, just because in January you don't meet your budget, and in February and March, give it some time. Uh, you don't be so aggressive to the point where uh, you don't give or slack, so to speak. But once you do your monthly budget, start doing each, knowing where the major expenses are. Then you have a good understanding of where you are overall. Like anything else in life, you get better as you go. And uh, one of the guidelines that I like to use is the 40-30-20-10, which is 40% should be the things that you need, which is the food, housing, automobile. 20% basically is those things that you want that are kind of flexible, whether buying clothes or travel, etc. And the 20% is saving and reducing your debt, and 10% tithing or giving to a charitable contribution. But the main thing I want us to focus in on, we got to have a written plan, because basically, if it's written, that everybody can take a look at it, so everybody will know where the cash flow is going in and the cash flow is going out. And that's the main thing. Part of that projection is you will make sure you want to get out of the debt. Two things that normally robs us out of our income is taxes and debt. Well, we know that taxes is one of those things that somewhat inescapable, but we can reduce our debt. And being a little creative on the back end, we can kind of reduce the taxes at the same time. One of the things that I always give as the exercise, if you have worked over 10 years, and if you didn't have any debt or taxes, all of us would probably be multi-millionaires by now. And one of the key things to it is basically is live below what your income is. And I know that's very difficult to do, because basically we all had dreams and aspirations of what that BMW or say live locations in the neighborhood in different cities, and sending your private school or public schools, or et cetera, et cetera. But if you can live below what you make, that's another key. The next key is basically what I call basically in that 20%. You have to save some money. Emergency fund, save capital, because things are going to happen. As I've been saying for each episode, whether it's that hot water heater, whether it's getting car repair, if you have an older car, you might want to look at one of those extended warranty type deal. You got to be careful. Some are better than others, and you need to be careful with that extended warranty. And also, the 10%, you need to give back to your community and so forth, and such as. Speaking of that, one of the things you need to be plan for your long-term goals. And of course, I always talk about the 5 basics. Basically, you need to earn and create. You need to learn how to manage. You need to learn how to leverage the money that you have. You need to learn how to protect it, as well as building a legacy. And since it's the last show, I'm going to talk about the last thing probably more than the first couple, because normally I hit on those early in the process. When you look at your long-term investment plan, and that's any type of retirement plan or higher education plan, especially if you're young in your career, you're planning for your children going to higher education. Now, one of the things is that 529 plan, which is a good education plan, and over the years they have become more flexible to be more flexible and user friendly. But one of the things, you talk about IRA, 401k, and annuities, insurance, and so forth. But one thing I want you to keep in mind, because sometimes we let our financial fiduciaries or advisors lead us into things that we can take advantage now that will hurt us later. And what I mean by that is the 401k, yes, it's tax deferred, but look, when you have to pay those taxes later in life, what do they actually do to your retirement income? There's a couple of things I want you to be privy of. One is the tax exempt status. 2, is there any personal growth potential in this investment? And is there any risk of loss? Is it easy access? Because if you look at 401k and a couple others, you don't have that easy access. Is there a protection against any kind of loss? If your long-term investment is based on the stock or the economy, you need to be aware of that. Is there any long-term care regarding those things? Can you build a legacy with that instrument that you're using, and can you avoid probate? One of the things that the 401k, the IRA, the annuities, and let's say an index whole life insurance policy, all those things will give you different types of protection. Now, only one or two of those things will actually give you the tax exemption status, the growth potential, no risk of loss, easy access to it, provide you protection, and the long-term care, the ability to build a legacy, and be able to avoid probate. All those things should be considered. One of the things that I have personally witnessed is that there's a 401k doesn't give you all those things that you would need for protecting what your assets are. The IRA will give you some of those things that you are looking for, and the annuity there are some things that you can not have with those things. So those are the things that we need to consider. And since we are in a economic-based society, we know that protecting our money is just as important as making the money. And that should be one of your things for the 2024, is that you need to get those things back on track, building a budget and fixing your finance. And we're going to continue our conversation after this break. Hello, my soul brothers and soul sisters. This is episode 30, and we're talking about fixing your finances and building a budget that works in 2024. And I talked about some things, I mentioned the scripture, Habakkuk 2:2, write the vision and make it plain. And basically, I shortened it with write it, read it, and run it. So when you do all those things, you are getting excited about your plan. If you write it down, you say it, and then if you get your spouse, your significant others, and your family on board with it, they're excited about it because they see the benefits of you doing it. So first thing, you need to write the plan out. And the second thing is, within that plan, you need to make sure you have a debt reduction plan, especially with the interest rates on credit cards that's just going haywire and going crazy. We've got to get that under control. And that is that we have to learn how to, what I call the theme is less is more, which means that we need to live less than what we make, because then we'd be able to do those other things. And, save money and be generous. One of the things that at the end, like I said, I talk a lot about earning and creating income, which means you basically got to have a cash flow coming in. I talk about managing basically, the income and expenses, knowing what your assets and liabilities are. And then I talked a lot about this in 2023 about leveraging. One of my favorite tools is using OPM, using other people's money. And one of the things about that is that we get into trouble when we don't have discipline. We get in trouble when we use a credit card to the excess. We get in trouble when we overextend our line of credit. We get in trouble when we use the Macy's and Dillard's and credit cards. We get in trouble. Using debt should be building assets, not to buy things that are be liable. And then we talk about protection, and I talk about a lot of insurance. One of the best thing in life is that your body is your temple, and you have to take care of it, which means that you need to get a proper amount of rest, sleep, and exercise, and proper intake of food. That is your best weapon. Now, if you need medication, you need to make sure you go have regular doctor visits and have some form of health care. That is, it should be a given. You have to take care of yourself, because if you don't take care of yourself, that will be an added expense that you could avoid. And you have to do things to reduce the stress in your life. That the stress that we worry about, which is money, is a big issue that we worry about. That's one reason why sometimes we overeat, sometimes we drink excessive alcohol, sometimes we bite our fingernails. We have all these other nervous conditions because we don't write out our financial plan and find a solution of how we can get out of any dire straits that we have put ourselves in, because we didn't have the financial literacy that I think should be every place in high school, elementary school, etc. Even though I have seen some of the curricula that I've seen in high school that they are proposing, and that's not really to be getting to the issue. It's so academic and it's so not user friendly that it's still talking over your head. So that's the reason why hopefully when you listen to the broadcast, that you can get a better feel of what you need to do. One of the things that I like to do, I don't want to talk about leaving a legacy. Over the last year, a lot of our entertainers and high-profile people have passed. And I want to talk about four. Over the last couple of years, James Brown, Aretha Franklin, Prince, and John Singleton. Everybody knows James Brown is a singer, entertainer. So is Aretha Franklin. So is Prince. John Singleton was a director, actor, etc. Now, all these people have one thing in common. Can you guess what that is? Well, the answer is they didn't have a will, and they did have a trust. Now, James Brown estate was worth over $100 million. Let that sink in for a minute. Aretha Franklin's estate was worth $80 million. Prince's estate was worth $150 million. And John Singleton estate was worth $6 million. I'm bringing this up for a simple fact because they didn't have a will. And when you don't have a will, then everybody can contest it and it goes to probate. And my personal opinion, the only person who benefits when a property or estate goes to probate is the attorneys. It took 15 years for the James Brown estate to be settled. It took 4 years for Aretha Franklin estate to be settled. It took 6 years for Prince estate to be settled. And it took 4 years for John Singleton estate to be settled. So you say, Ron, what's your point? Do you know what that does to a family? That everybody wants a piece of that property. Do you know the fights, the attorneys, the arguments, the disagreements that whole thing caused within the family? That will literally and figuratively tear each other family member apart. That's why in 2024, I implore you to at least do a will at minimum. Even though wills are public record, they go through probate, and everybody have their a position to look at that. So if you do have a property, especially at these values that I just mentioned, you need to do a trust. Irrevocable trust is a trust that you can do while you're living, and you have control of the assets where they're going. It's, a irrevocable trust is one that you can't be, manipulated once that is in place. But my point is that you can eliminate a lot of heartache, a lot of disappointment, a lot of family feuds by creating one of those two instruments. Now you have time, you're in sound mind, that you can express how you want to distribute your estate. And the thing about it, a lot of people think that, oh, I don't have a lot of money. If you have a house, you can put the house in the estate, and your beneficiary will be your children. Now, basically, you're doing two things. You're eliminating the gift tax that comes with that, and you're eliminating probate, which means that basically that it won't take 15 years or 4 years or 6 years to distribute those assets to the beneficiary. That's the whole main thing, and time is at the essence is that the estate could be distributed a whole lot faster if you do the simple thing. So that was my 5-minute soapbox. One of the things that I have witnessed over the time, we can actually eliminate that. So why do you think a lot of financial education is not being taught? My surmise is that if the government, the financial institutions, insurance companies, big government, Wall Street is not making any money off it, they're not going to advertise it. Think about that. So the things that you hear and the things that you hear other people, uh, the main people who benefited from the 401k is Wall Street, which is tied, the mutual fund is tied to the stock market. So uh, do you think that your 401k is going to be to them? The growth potential it depends on the mood of, the investors. You think that your 401k has no risk of loss? Think about 2008, and even the 2020. Do you have easy access to your 401k? Do it provide the protection that you need? Is there any long-term care? Think about that. Think about your if you have a mortgage on your home, you're paying your note every month. Who's really benefiting from that? Is it it's the financial institutions, it's the banks. So what I am giving you are strategies that you can make this thing work for you. Because basically, regardless of what economy that's in the United States, you have your own economy. And if you're below a certain baseline, and if you're just getting have one stream of income, you're going to be it's going to be very difficult for you to maintain any type of lifestyle. So you said, what's the antidote to that poison? Well, you have to do things smart, specific. Your goals have to be measurable. They got to be attainable, and they got to be, in real time that you can do a reality, and they got to be time sensitive. You got to be smart, and you have to learn how to get unstuck. Think about this. If you focus on things lost, you're gonna feel stuck. You're stuck about your past mistakes. Shoulda, coulda, woulda. It's just almost like there's some things that I talk about things that I wish I had learned. I'm putting things that I wish I had learned into action right now. So basically, not only as I'm looking forward to 2024, I'm not looking back to 2023 at the same time. So my implore to you is that stay current. Only listen to things that is going to move you forward. If you listen to the news, you listen to things on social media, those are the things that is going to only going to hamper your growth, because all those things have, and what your focus is, the future for your family, not only your short-term goals, medium goals, and long-term goals, but what you want to do for your community. What you want to do for your house of worship. Those are the things that you need to start being concerned with. Of course, about 168 more days, hours in this year. You can run when you read it. My time is up, and I thank you for yours.